Good afternoon, all, and thank you for joining us for a special Secret Sunday session today. Today is ANZAC Day, and I didn't want to ask anyone else rather than Matt and your experience in the army, serving for our country. And I know a little bit of your background. I'm sure a bit of Australia would know, knowing you've done a lot, even on television. So just start off by saying who are you and what is it that you do?
So, hello, thank you. First of all, thanks for having us. Appreciate it. And it is a very special day today as well. So my name is Matthew Filippi. I'm 35 years old and I live on the Sunshine Coast. My background is I was in the army for 6 years and I was deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. So I was in Iraq in 2006 and Afghanistan in 2007. And at the moment, I am a personal trainer on the Sunshine Coast, and I've been doing that for just over 7 years now. So it's a great lifestyle. Get to work morning and night, and get to do whatever in the day: train, go for a surf, have a nap, all those good things. Yeah,
What a
it's good.
life.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah. And you're on here today because of your experience in the army. If you take you back to the first stages when you decided that you wanted to go to the army, why did you decide?
Yeah, so with my family, I had no background when it comes to my family with the Defence Force. I knew nothing about it really. I finished school. I was doing certain jobs like doing furniture making, a bit of balustrating, and I didn't know what to do. And I think I had a mate just said, "Why don't you join the army?" And I was just like, "Do you know what? It's probably not a bad idea because I didn't want to do a trade like all my mates were doing on the coast because everyone was just doing the same thing, and me as a person, I like to try and do something different. Do you know what I mean? Do something exciting and something new and something challenging more than anything. And I thought, yeah, the army's the best thing. So I applied, and when I was 19, and I was meant to join, I think 5 months down the track, and I think they rang me up really short, like probably 3 months before my enlistment date, and they rang me up and said, "I've got 2 hours to be in Brisbane if I wanted to join the army that day." So that was a bit crazy. And I was kind of pretty free with work at the time. So it was interesting because at the start I said, "Oh, like, I don't know." Like, I freaked out. I was like, "I don't know if this is the right thing to do right now." And she said, "All right, we'll have a thing and ring back if you need." And I rang my mum, and she was down Byron Bay, and she's like, "Do it." And I rang up straight away and said, "Okay, I'll be there." So at that time I had an hour and 50 to
Wow.
get. I just grabbed anything I thought and just went straight to Brizzy to go join the army the next day. So it's pretty
Wow.
crazy.
So when you
Yeah.
say you went to Brisbane to join the army the next day, what does that mean, I guess, for us that don't understand? What was it that you were joining?
So I was joining as infantry, a rifleman, so pretty much frontline, and we had to go to Brisbane to meet there, just to fly down to go to Wagga Wagga down there. So, but at Brisbane before we jumped on the no, sorry, we had to flew to Sydney that day, and then in Sydney we had to do like a little ceremony where you got to put your hand on the Bible, give you I suppose your oath or word, whatever, to the Queen, saying that yeah, you accept being in the Australian Army. And then pretty much the next morning you're standing in a hallway, yelling out your name with your bed sheets on your shoulder. Yeah, so it's pretty crazy, and just such a life changing experience straight away. Like, I was like, far out, this is crazy. I was surfing that morning yesterday, and now I'm in the hallway yelling out my name. So yeah, it's been.
Like being a 19-year-old and going into that environment, were you absolutely terrified?
um, yeah, I'd say yeah, definitely, because it's pretty intimidating going in there where people are yelling at you straight away and stuff like that. But then the other side, you've got, in our platoon, we had I think nearly 50 people in our platoon. Everyone's on the same level, so we've all got each other kind of like to talk to. It's not like you're there on your own. And yeah, I was kind of excited as well because it was something new for me, even though it was kind of scary. There's not things that have turned me away from things in life that are scary. So I was keen for a bit of a challenge. But yeah, it was different, definitely, straight away.
Yeah. And I guess if you talk me through a little bit when you were assigned to Iraq and Afghanistan, are you prepared, I guess, to know what to expect when you are put in those situations?
Yeah, pretty much to the best way we can train in Australia. for sure, because we have got certain training facilities that we can use. When I was up in Townsville, to do some like urban type of training that's going to replicate being in Iraq and all stuff like that. So yeah, and like our training, we train so much. You know what I mean? Like we do heaps of different scenarios and stuff. So I felt like it did help a lot. And there was definitely certain situations where you just knew that your body naturally reacted because of your training that you've had. And then that was definitely like for Iraq. And then Afghanistan was a little bit different because when we were in Afghanistan, it got down to minus 20 degrees. So we were patrolling in the snow, which was hectic. And you can't train in those environments up in North Queensland. So that was interesting. We had all the right equipment, definitely, but we're trained that way to be able to face any situation and push through it and do our job at the end of the day. And by doing those things, it definitely shows how good our training was, because we had Iraq where it was high 40s, nearly low 50s, and then going a year later, which Afghanistan was down to minus 20. So yeah, it's definitely interesting and a challenge as well.
Yeah. And when you talk about your training, so you obviously stay with the Defence Force, but how many days do you physically train, and do they prepare you mentally?
Yeah, so what we do a pre-deployment training before we go, before we deploy, and we're with our whole company. So our company, the whole tour will be there. So it could be the people like down in Brisbane that are our drivers or whatever, engineers. So we all come together and we train for 6 months before we go over. And like I said before, we do that many different scenarios, like if this happened, how would our section react, or if this happened, kind of thing. So we are trained, and like that's in your mind the whole time you're training. You're training for 6 months before you go over, and then we're over there for 7 months, especially Afghanistan. And I found that everything we did learn through training helped more than anything when we were over there, for sure.
Yeah. And did you know what you were fighting for?
Like I was young then. Do you know what I mean? Like 19. I'm 35 now. It's a long time ago, and I could say I felt like I was. I felt like I was such an adult then, but looking back, I was so young. But to say know what I was fighting for, to be honest, no, not 100% in a way. Like I knew we were there obviously we're working under the engineers to help protect them while they were helping there rebuild the schools, the hospitals, building checkpoints for the Afghan army, the Afghan police. So our job as infantry was to be on the ground to protect the engineers while they're doing that. So for me at that age, I was just like, that's our job to help the locals. But obviously I know there's a lot more behind all that, where it comes back from the oil and all that stuff, and working with the other coalition forces. And that's important to be a coalition forces with them as well, because if anything happens to us, we kind of need each other as well. So yeah, it's an interesting one, and it's probably not the right answer as well, because I was there for experience, but I knew we were there doing the right thing as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And I guess even now there's just so much talk around war as such, and why is it happening, and will peace ever come around? But I guess unless you're put in that situation, you don't know. We're all just, assuming things are happening. But I would say what you guys went through would just be so traumatic in every level. And that's what I want to talk a little bit about now. How do you prepare yourself for entering a situation where you may have to kill someone?
Yeah, it's a really hard thing to be at the age of 21, when it's Iraq and Afghan, and then 22 at Afghan, and to know that you're going over there and you might not come back. It's such a big thing. None of us really talked about it in the army. We just kind of just go over there and do our job. Do you know what I mean? And it's scary. And like there was situations where like more than one of us were definitely really, really close. And you can't, when you're over there, you can't let those things bother you. You really, really can't. You've got to just move on the next day and just go back out and patrol and do your job. And I find by that happening and people not talking about it that afternoon or that night or that next morning and moving on, that's what stems from the biggest problem with a lot of suicide within Australia with returning vets, because you hold on to it, you let it build up, and you're not letting those emotions get out. But it's so hard because in a way you can't if you're on patrol. Do you know what I mean? Like you've got to keep soldiering on, and it builds up. And I think back then when I was in two, it was if you spoke up about that, you kind of looked at like as a bit of a pussy. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, you're so weak. Like, and that's just the way it was back then. I don't think it's like that as much now. But back then, definitely, like we didn't really talk about emotions. Like if a certain situation happened, like, yep, all right, well, that's what we're here for. Like if you didn't expect that to happen, why are you being here? Like, and I think that's one of the biggest things. You can't go there expecting to nothing to happen. Do you know what I mean? In a way.
Yeah. And how did you cope, I guess, if it was something that you felt like you couldn't talk about it, or other, men weren't talking about it either? How did you deal with those situations where you were experiencing something pretty traumatic, but you couldn't talk about it?
I didn't really deal with it. I just shut it off, to be honest. And everyone else was the same. Like no one spoke about it. Like I remember after being in a contact one time in Afghanistan, like we got back that night. I don't know what time it was night time. We got back and like it was weird because everyone's just like kind of giving each other like a high five, like shit, like we just went through that and we survived. Like that was so crazy. It's like a different side of things. Instead of everyone talking about how they felt, it was just like more of a relief. But yeah, and then like for myself, like I let it. I didn't say much to anyone for years, and it kind of hit me one time. I was up at Double Island, which is a place you can go drive on the beach and camp up there and surf and all that stuff. And I went up there on my own one night, just go for a surf and camped. And I was up there sitting next to my truck on the beach, had a little fire, eating some lunch, eating some dinner, sorry, that time. And yeah, it was the first time. I never really understood when people talked about like a flashback, but when I actually went through it myself, I was sitting there on my own. There was like the sand dunes there. I could hear kind of noises and it freaked me out. And I just felt so like useless and just, I didn't have any weapon with me to protect me. I felt like I needed something to protect me and I didn't. And I freaked out and I broke down in tears. And I've never been in that situation before. And that was years after returning from Afghanistan, because I'd never really spoken about it much. And at that time, like I just told myself I had to face it. Like I got up and I went for a walk up towards the lighthouse, up through this bush track, and I was kind of like, it was weird. Like I was kind of like just yelling out, like come at me, like I'm not gonna let this bother me. And it was such a weird situation, but I'm glad I did have that situation because it made me come home straight away. I rang my ex-partner at the time and said, like, as soon as I got reception, I just said, like, look, this is what just happened. And she's like, yeah, okay, all right. And I was like, yeah, I need to go see someone. And then that's when, I went through the army line and got help through that. And yeah, it was, I feel like if that didn't happen for me, like I feel like it could have ended up worse than that. And yeah, it wasn't easy, definitely not. And to experience that was something you can't explain really until you experience it yourself.
Yeah. Wow. It sounds so scary, I guess, even not just when you're in the army, but as you said, when you come out of it and you're still reliving it. Do you find now that you're still reliving some of those moments and triggered by something or a sound or things like that still happen around you?
There has been a lot of times definitely building up, but as I've got older, I've realized a lot, like it's stuff that I can grow off. Do you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be the person I am today without those certain experiences and a certain situation. It might trigger me, but then I'm like, okay, like, and if I can recognize and realize why that's happened and then kind of grow from that and talk about it is the biggest thing. Like with my partner, like if something happens, like I'll talk to her and bring it up to her straight away. And it helps so much. And that's something that I feel like a lot of younger veterans or just anyone who's been through anything in life, it doesn't have to be with the army, like the best thing to do is just talk about it, because things sound so much more different when you say it out loud instead of keeping it in, because up here can be a pretty dangerous place. And I feel like as soon as you get it out and talk about it, it's a lot different. It can be not as bad as it can be in your head as well.
And if we take it a little bit back to those experiences when you were in Afghanistan and Iraq, how did it feel, I guess, interacting with the locals that were on the ground. Like, how did you feel as a person, I guess, seeing such a different environment to what we have here in Australia, and then to seeing them, what I would imagine is not having a lot?
Yeah, like I see it as, first of all, like any kind of third world country, like everyone looks so happy and grateful for what they've got, because they don't have all the stuff we've got. Like we're so bloody spoiled here, it's ridiculous. And that can make people so not appreciative, and yeah, make the way some people are. And like, you go over to those countries and they're frothing on just having fun, you know what I mean, playing with each other outside, like kids, for example, whatever. But it's like, being in Afghanistan is such a beautiful country. It's amazing. Like, it's so raw and rugged, but it's so like mountainy and all that, and it just takes your breath away just looking at it. When it is not snowing and when it is snowing as well, there's so many different sides of that. And yeah, like just when like dealing with like the locals over there was really interesting. They were really intrigued by us, but also really aware. Because I noticed through certain towns when we were there, like helping rebuild, and we'd be there like trying to push the Taliban further up north or away from that area. Then all the kids, and especially the women as well, they'd be coming out too into the local area where the kids weren't like really allowed to play, do you know what I mean? And stuff like that. So like, we noticed they were a lot more happier, but they were still really, really aware of us. And it's like we weren't fully invited to be there, which is understandable. We're walking through the main town with weapons, and we've got tanks and all that stuff, do you know what I mean, and vehicles going through their main town. But I can see the other side where they could really enjoy it, because they are got a bit more freedom in that way. And but there was situations where we're on patrol, and you could tell that certain male were the Taliban, but they know our rules of engagement. So like, if they don't have weapons on them, or they're not a threat to us at that time, when we search them, there's nothing on them, we can't do anything about it. And you can tell, like, you'd never ever win a staring comp with them, I'll tell you that. They are pretty intimidating, and they'll just stare straight through you. And yeah, you could tell who they were, and it's pretty scary, that those kind of encounters with them, for sure. And you could tell they definitely didn't want us there.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. I guess, how can you identify who the enemy is, or who is part of the Taliban? Because I know I probably would find it very difficult to know, if they, they're all in the same environment, who is who and who is the enemy.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing it comes down to is our rules of engagement. Like, we can't act or fire unless we feel our own life is in danger or someone else's. So usually in any kind of contact or anything like that, it starts from them. So that's what I feel like a lot of people struggle for when they get home, because they're always so alert when you're over there, and you have to be, do you know what I mean? Like, you're waiting for something to happen. So I feel like when people get home, they can't turn that off. That's what's the trickiest part. And like, obviously we do have, when it comes down to intelligence, they do have like, they know who the tier 1 and tier 2 like Taliban leaders are, and all that kind of stuff. They've got photos from past events or whatever. So but yeah, like, without that kind of stuff, it is hard, and you don't know. And one of the biggest things over there as well is, it's not just face-to-face or gunfire, it's the IEDs that they set up, the roadside bombs, and all those things that can just go off from a standing on a pressure plate, or a vehicle driving over it, or it can be a timed bomb. So that's where our war has come to kind of these days, not so much back in the day where it was a front line. So they're the things that you've all got to take into account as well.
Yeah, wow. And I guess, if you talk us a little bit through about the living conditions over there for you guys, and also like, what was it in terms of, what were your food rations, or what was a typical day in the Australian Defence Force over there?
All right. So for example, when we were at Afghanistan, we were at Tarankout, the base there, and on our base we had a shipping container, and in that shipping container was 2 bunk beds. So we had 4 people in that, which you can imagine is not the biggest space there at all, and it's not the most nice smelling place. But Yeah, like, but out of, I think we're over there for, I'd say 180 days. I think we're on patrol for 120 of them. So we weren't back there too much. It was just to go back, resupply, have a bit of downtime, communicate with family if you could, and then we'd be out on patrol. And then when we were out on patrol, we were traveling in the Bushmasters. And then in the Bushmasters, we just have our sleeping bag pretty much in our bags on the side. So when we pull up, we just sleep in an all-round defence where there's always a few people in the vehicle awake while everyone else is kind of sleeping. You kind of take in turns of doing that. Or, for example, we might find one of like an old building that Taliban might have owned, or some kind of Afghanistan army. And if that's not occupied, we go in there and use that to sleep in for the night. But they weren't the prettiest places. It was just like, I don't know, it would look like it's like a horse or cow stable. Do you know what I mean? Like there'd just be cow shit everywhere or whatever, or horse shit or donkey shit, and hay everywhere, and we just sleep there kind of thing. But we felt a bit more safer there because they're called koalas too, the buildings. And the buildings are made out of mud, and they're actually really strong, stronger than any like brickwork or anything like that. And so we'd probably take over that for a few nights if we're in that area. And yeah, so it was interesting. But one good thing out of that, it does make you a good sleeper, because if you can sleep in those conditions, you can sleep anywhere. So
Yeah. Wow. And what about the food? How does that work out? Like, I know in movies, that's the only thing I can go off is when you have like little ration box, but how actually is it?
So you got a ration pack. So in the ration pack, it lasts 3 days, a ration pack. And I know the Americans ones last 24 hours, but ours lasts for 3 days. And in there, you've got pretty much like three main meals, which are in a packet that you just rip open and eat. A lot of people like to heat it up through like a little burner and in the water. I wasn't too fussed, I just ate it cold. But you kind of have some main meals in there. You have like M&Ms. There's all like the right kind of food that will get you through that 24-hour period or whatever. No, sorry, our rat packs, did last 24 hours. The American ones lasted 1 meal, so not 3 days. And so I had all the right essentials in there to get you through. And it might be like a little tuna or like a fruit, like the fruit juice with little fruit pick stuff, as well. We make things called like bush nachos, which was like crackers, and then we had cheese on it and some Vegemite and put some salt on it, and that was our bush nachos. So and then we have as like our whole vehicle will be packed up with all our food in there. So there'll be certain times where we'll in Chora Valley in Afghanistan, and we're meant to be out on patrol for 5 days, and we end up getting stuck out there for, I think it was 30 days. So we had to get resupped by the Chinook had to drop in shipping container full of food and water for us. So so we'd have a fair bit on the vehicles, but at times like that was the only time we had to get food dropped off because we didn't have enough.
Yeah, were you ever like starving? Because like me hearing that going, oh my God, I would be so hungry.
No, I'd never say we're ever starving. No, we're never left short of food and that stuff like that. There's always a lot of snacky food like music bars and stuff in there too, but it's not the best food. Like it's enough to get through the 24 hours, the right proteins, fats and carbs and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But you can do it, and there's nothing better when you get back to base and you get to go to mess and have a nice hot feed and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have cooks that come along with you that live at the bases?
Yeah, at the bases. So on the base, it's well, in Iraq, like Iraq's crazy. Like we had that many coalition forces over there, like countries. There was, I reckon, maybe like 14, 15 countries. And on the base there, we had like Hungry Jack's, Macca's, Pizza Hut. It was so crazy. It's like big gyms and stuff. Big mess halls. So that was a big eye opener there. But then Afghanistan was a smaller base, and you do have your post office and what else is there? There's a bank and stuff there, and you got your cooks and that as well. So just the essential kind of stuff that you need. And then and we had like a little gym as well, and a little hangout area. We could hang out and watch some movies if we wanted to.
Oh my God, I've never pictured a base to be like that, like a whole shopping centre almost.
Yeah, well, the one in Iraq was crazy. There was even a bus that did a loop around the base because it was so big. It was huge. Yeah.
God, Wow. As I said before, all I've seen is like the movies where it's kind of, these just little, I don't even know how to explain it, but just different demountables where people sleep, not about like food centers. That just sounds good.
Yeah, but like amazing shops. So like little like
Mm.
shipping containers had like a sign saying Macca's or something, but like I don't know, we weren't that fond on eating that stuff because like how long did it take to get there? It's probably all frozen food that's there.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And so I want to, if you don't mind me asking, but during your patrol and being in those sorts of situations, was there any time that you did experience someone get shot or yourself be injured? Like, how did you experience that at all?
Um, there was a couple of situations. I think one of the first days we were out on patrol, we were just patrolling along and like just through this little village, and there's probably about four of us in the open, and we just had some rounds like fired at us, like just you could just see them hit the dirt and go past us, and we hit the ground, and we were like looking around, and then didn't even know where they came from. Nothing. We sat on the ground, moved around all around the fence, and did a couple of clearances, and then nothing happened. And we're like, all right, okay, we'll just keep moving and keep going on with our patrol. So there's a little situation like that. And then there's been like bigger situations, like we were on patrolling through Afghan, and we're on patrol, and in our platoon got about 30 guys, and the first two sections had walked through this part of the path or dirt road, and then the middle guy, who was a signal guy, he ended up stopping everyone. He said, like, I can see a little bit of wire on the ground. I'm like, all right, all around defence, go out. No one's going to touch it. We're going to call up engineers to come in and check it out. So you can imagine at this time, the first two sections had walked past or over that wire without stepping on it, which was pretty amazing. And we're all on the ground, all watching out. Engineers came in and did their thing, and they found that it was a IED. So what he did, he put it all back. He safe, I suppose, detonated that bomb in a way safely, so it wasn't going to go off. And then what happened was, as he lifted the bomb up to take it away, there was a pressure plate bomb underneath it. So that had blown up in his face, and he ended up, Sarge Lydiard, who was an engineer, and he ended up losing his whole right arm. I think he lost 3 fingers in his hand and pretty much his right eye, and did a lot of damage to the rest of his body and his face. And I just remember when that happened, it was such a, like you just knew as soon as it went off, something bad happened, and there was a bit of screaming going on, and a few of the boys from each of the sections ran over to do some first aid on him, and then we had to get rip down an old door to put him on there to evacuate him as like a stretcher, and we had to get the air vac in to take him to, I think it was Germany Hospital. And so that was, it was really full on, really scary and crazy, because at the time, like when that's going off and all that situation, you're like wondering if, because usually if something happens over there, like a situation like that, there's usually an ambush followed by it. So, but nothing came out after that. But so he survived that, which was incredible and amazing. And it was definitely an experience for sure.
How do you like just switch off though from the emotional side of it and just go, well, this is my job, this is what I have to do, I've got to help this guy the best way that I can, first aid, whatever, or even in the situation of, having to be on patrol, how do you just switch that emotional side off?
I think you got no choice, to be honest. It's your life, or do you know what I mean? Like, if you give yourself that second of switching off, and there's a situation where you got to be quicker than a second, your life could be gone. So we get trained that way, and there was situations, over there that had shown that our training has definitely paid off for sure, as well. Yeah.
So, and now if we talk a little bit about ANZAC Day and this whole ANZAC spirit, what does ANZAC spirit mean to you?
Sorry.
That's all right.
So yeah, it's ANZAC spirit is, I don't know, like we call it the Diggers Christmas. It's our most special day of the year for us. Anyone who's returning or still serving, or especially even people that know or have someone that was in the Defence Force. And I think just to have a day where that's just recognised, it's really special for us too. And for myself, like to have my family and to march with my daughter, and not also my daughter, my brother's kids as well. And I've had them every single year I've marched. I've always had them walking with me, and it always brings a tear to my eye every time I'm marching along. And it's just such a crazy feeling to be there, chest full of medals, walking, and people just clapping and coming up to you that day and just saying, thank you for your service. It means the world as soon as someone says that. And yeah, it's special. And it's also to appreciate everyone else and what they've done as well, because there's a lot of people that can't be there, and it's good to reflect on those people.
Why do you think you get emotional about it? Is it more like a pride thing? You feel proud of what you've done, or is it the people that you've lost?
It's definitely a proud thing as well. Like I just feel like what we go through or what we've done, not many people can understand unless they've done it as well. And also too, it does bring back a fair bit of emotions if we've lost someone overseas, which yeah, it definitely does, and it has for sure.
Yeah. And what's like the moment in Anzac Day? Because I know for me, myself, there's so many special moments when, the national anthem's sung, or when, the bugle is played. What is that tearjerker moment for you?
I think definitely when that's played for sure, bugle. Like it's just such a, I don't know, like how to explain, such a unique, different sound, and it so much. And I feel like it doesn't matter if you're from World War One or to the most recent wars. Now everyone has that kind of same feeling, and yeah, it just means a lot, I think. And I feel like we've got so many people that are on that same level as well. It's pretty emotional to have that many people with such the same heavy experience as well.
Yeah. They talk a lot about mateship as part of the Anzac spirit. Did you find that was really strong during your journey in the army?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because that's all you've got. Your brotherhood. You know what I mean? That's all you've got to rely on, and you've got to also, you have that many like crazy serious moments over there. It's good to have a laugh and chill out and lay back. Like we're over there, like in Afghanistan, we're there for 7 months. Like you can't be, you know what I mean, too serious the whole time. You got to enjoy life a bit, even that we're over there. And I think that's all that stuff too. Just comes from everyone, like no one's got anyone else except each other as well. And we've trained so hard together leading up to it as well, because it's like the 6-month pre-deployment training, then you're over there doing it as well. So we all come really close, and at the end of the day, we've all got each other's back, and we need to know that. We need to know that if something happens, and that someone else is going to help me out if it comes to it. And too, like there's some army mates that I don't speak to that often, and then as soon as I see them, it's like we just kick it off from last time we met or last time we had a beer kind of thing. So yeah, we are really lucky like that. So there's a lot of good mates that I've made through the army.
And then why did you decide to leave the army? Does it work out that your period ends of service, or how does it work?
So with myself, I had to do 4 years or 4.5, including the training. And I had done Iraq and Afghanistan. And I was like, I've done 2 desert trips. It's pretty good I've had a pretty good wicket and awesome experience. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do. Like, I want to stay in the army still. So after all that, I changed jobs in the army, and I changed to aviation in the army, and I was refueling and rearming aircraft. So I got posted to Darwin for that. So I did that for 1.5 years. And then after that, it was a weird experience, because I was in the army with people that had only done that job, and it made me really arrogant in a way. Like we'd go out bush and we'd be sleeping in swags, for example, and they'd be worried about camming up, like putting cam cream on and being real quiet. But there's helicopters coming in and we're refueling the aircraft. Like I couldn't understand it because I'd been over to seas and done the infantry way, which it's really tactical for a reason. And it made me, I didn't like the way it turned me into the person I was, because I argued a lot with people saying this is like bullshit. Why are we doing this? Like we can't hide. Like we've got fuel tanks with us right now. Like, so it was interesting. So I just wanted to come back home to Sunshine Coast. So I love the surfing every day, and I didn't get to do that up in Townsville and Darwin because there's nothing up there. And I just wanted to come home and just see my mates and enjoy my lifestyle on the coast, really.
And how do you get back into everyday life when, as you said, we're very spoilt lifestyle that we do live here in Australia? How did you fit back into that very vanity-like lifestyle after being through what you've been through?
Yeah, it is really hard. I didn't know what to do. I actually just got out of the army. I didn't have a job. I had mates in Central America who were traveling around. So I went and jumped in their van for 2 months and surfed the coastline from Mexico down to Panama in 2 months and just partied and surfed. So that was pretty sick. And I just thought, I owe it to myself. I've done 6 years in the army. I'm going to go do that. And then I came home after that, and I just lived with my brother for a bit. And what did I start doing? I went back to my old job before I went to the army, which was ballustrating again, and I just didn't know what to do. I was kind of lost and on that side of things. But then I ended up doing an electrical apprenticeship, mature age electrical apprenticeship, which was good. But yeah, like the other side of things, like trying to fit in, like it's so hard. Like it's really hard without seeing someone or talking to people about it and being open. Like I struggled going to the shops. I had going anywhere it was busy. I hated having my back to. I had to have my back to the wall when I was in like a pub or restaurant. I just didn't trust people, and it's not healthy. Do you know what I mean? Like to just block out like that. And yeah, like it's you expect a lot of people to understand what you've done and what you've been through without telling them, and that's what makes it the hardest thing. Because there's been situations where, say, you're on the piss with your mates and they might tie you up and you're freaking out because you don't like that and you want to get aggressive, and they don't understand why you're getting aggressive. And then, there's heaps of situations like that for sure. And it is hard, but in a way, like it was such a relief to get home and not have to worry about shaving every day or ironing my clothes every day, not having someone tell me what to do. So that's like the good side of things. But yeah, there's a lot more harder things, I think.
How did you get over that and I guess rebuild your mindset so that you could feel comfortable around people and not feel like you're on that defense? Did you say the Army Helpline really did work?
Yeah, so I went through Veterans, was it Veterans Affairs, I think, or Veterans and Families, something like that. Sorry, I can't remember. And I got put through to see a psychologist, and I seen a psychologist for, I think, 4.5, nearly 5 years. And it was the best thing I ever did, for sure. Just helped to explain a lot of things, things that I didn't understand, why people didn't understand things. And so that helped me so much to see someone. And I highly recommend to anyone who's had any kind of trauma situations or anything where they feel like they're not coping, to go see someone. Like it doesn't have to be army related. Just it doesn't hurt to put your hand up. Do you know what I mean? You're not a coward. It's more manly than anything to put your hand up and say, hey, I need help, because you got to look after yourself, and you've got to make sure you're not pushing away the people that are around you that love you. Do you know what I mean? Like they might be showing that they love you and care for you in ways that you don't understand because you're too hurt from situations that's happened in the past for yourself.
Yeah. And how are you going now with everything that's gone on? Are you in a definitely a better place than you were?
Yeah. I'm in an amazing place. I've got a lot of good people around me. I don't see my psychologist anymore. I was on antidepressants that I got stuck on for a bit that I'm not on anymore. I meditate a lot now, just exercise, which I've always done anyway, but exercise is such an important thing. And I think the biggest thing is opening up and talking. Like I'm so open with my emotions and feelings with my friends even, and my partner. And yeah, I'm in such a good place now. I'm happy. I've got a beautiful little daughter and a gorgeous partner, and I'm just so thankful and to live where I live on the Sunshine Coast, and I've got an amazing job, and yeah, I'm happy. I can do whatever, really. Yeah.
Yep.
So.
You don't feel like that little voice in the back of your head that those mates in the army are not telling you that you're a pussy when you talk about your emotions?
No, I don't care what anyone thinks anymore anyway. And I think that's a big thing. Like, don't care what anyone thinks. You've got to do what makes you happy. And if people aren't going to accept and they're going to try and make you feel bad for the way you feel, they're not a real mate, or they've actually probably got their own problems that they need to deal with. So, yeah, and that's things that I've learned over the time as well.
Would you change anything that you've experienced?
No way in the world. I wouldn't change anything. I'm so blessed and proud of myself, and yeah, blessed the experiences that I've had. Like being over in the army, like everyone's like, as crazy as it was and as scary as it was, do you regret it? I'm like, no way. Like that's made me to the person I am today, and yeah, I wouldn't change a thing. And that's what life's about: experiences and growing from those experiences as well.
And just quickly, as you've obviously gone on to do a couple of things part of Ninja Warrior, why that decision? Is that another challenge that you felt you needed to conquer?
Yeah, so well, I was on Big Brother in 2013. So I was doing my electrical apprenticeship. I hit third year, and I was at a stage where I was like, yeah, I was at the stage like before I joined the army, I was like, I need some excitement. Like need something new. Like I just don't like doing like the plain thing that kind of everyone just goes through life doing. Not everyone, but you know what I mean? Like who gets stuck. So I want to apply for Big Brother, and then yeah, went on Big Brother. That was amazing experience. Days in the house, and met some really good people. And then I came out of Big Brother, and that kind of set me up a lot too. Like I got offered a scholarship at Fit College, did my Cert 3 and 4, and then I came out of that and I had clients straight away. So I've been on that for 7.5 years now, and yeah, it's been really cool because it's just given me the lifestyle that I've always wanted. And yeah, and then I had a stage again, like what else to do, and I seen Warrior come up in season 1. I was like, oh, I reckon I could do that. So I applied for that, and then that helped me get on because they just advertised me as the ex-army guy and Big Brother guy, so that it's all about backstories as well, TV shows like that. So that kind of helped me set up for that, and I've done just finished filming season 5, so that's my 4th year now, and I love it. I love the training. I love training for something instead of just going to the gym and looking at yourself pumping weights gets a bit boring. So yeah.
Any insights into how you go this season?
No, nothing at all.
We'll have to watch it and wait and see. But how do you prepare for such two different environments? Like you go from fighting and being on such an intense defense in a war to then going on commercial television and it being about vanity and it being about selling yourself. It's just such a diverse environment. How did you prepare for the environment number 2?
Yeah, it is. It is so crazy. It's nuts if you think about it like that. It's interesting because when I went into Big Brother, my biggest fear was public speaking. I hated it. So scared of it, and I got shoved like on stage in front of the nation on live TV and had to talk. And that was I was so scared backstage knowing I had to do that. And that's such a good thing too for me coming like into Ninja Warrior, because it just gives you self-confidence and just realizing like, I don't know, like when I'm up there for Ninja Warrior, I feel like people aren't there to judge you in a way. They're there to watch you. Do you know what I mean? So, and like they're going to appreciate the training you've put in and that. And I feel like doing all that, it just makes it a bit easier. And people just appreciate that you're up there giving it a crack, I reckon. And yeah, it was an awesome experience, really good experience. I'm very lucky to I've done it 4 times now. So yeah.
Wow. Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens, I guess. So no little hints at all. We're not going to get anything.
It's on Channel 9. That's about it.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining me today on this such a special day, and for being so open and honest about your experience in the army, because I know it's not an easy thing to talk about, and sometimes not everybody understands it, but people like you that are sharing their story just makes us all understand a little bit more about what you guys went through. That is very traumatic. So I really appreciate you sharing that today on especially this special day. And I wish you and the best of luck in all of your endeavours future, and also being a father, which is a phenomenal accomplishment that I think would be one of the best ones that you probably would have had to go through.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I thank you for all those kind words, and I really appreciate you on today. And yeah, thank you a lot.
Yeah, and thank you everyone out there who has served the country or any country. What you guys have done and girls have done for us, we can never thank you enough for putting your lives on the line for us and for the country. And very, 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 very grateful for what you guys put your minds, your bodies, and your souls through. So thank you.
Well said.
Everybody have a great ANZAC Day, and I hope that you guys celebrate in style, doing a bit of two up or some beer drinking or whatever it is.
More than a few years, I'll tell you that.
Well, thank you very much, and we will catch you all for another Secret Sunday session soon.
Thank you. Bye.